The internet's collectively crushing over the resurgence of the OG DILF, Pedro Pascal, in The Last of Us. Along with his hunky looks, we had a peek at how caring a father figure he could be. Not only is this man a treat to the eyes, but The Last of Us shows us the man's brilliant father potential. Well, regardless of how successful and well received The Last of Us has been with viewers, I can't help but think of the colossal fest that Game of Thrones became in the final seasons. Even though the entire community has unanimously pushed Game of Thrones from our consciousness, Pascal's character was one of those that have stood the test of time. Handsome? Check. Cocky? Check. Bi icon? Double check. Passionate? Triple check. I mean, it felt as if Oberyn's character truly was written for him. Don't just take my word for it. The show's co-creator, David Benioff, also said that Pascal was the perfect Oberyn Martell. Speaking to Variety, Benioff explained how Pascal's audition wasn't the greatest. Well, the acting part was, of course, top-notch, and he absolutely nailed it, but the quality of his audition tape was questionable, to put it lightly.
You lost, friend?
Forgive me for staring. I don't see many Lannisters where I'm from.
I don't see many Dornishmen in the capital.
You don't like the smell?
Come with me, lover.
Gods, look at this one.
Sirs, if you follow me, I'll arrange for a private room.
Why are you wasting a woman like this on a Dornishman? Bring him a shaved goat and a bottle of olive oil.
Speaking as a fellow second son, I've grown rather used to being the family insult. Why did you come to King's Landing, Prince Oberyn?
I was invited to the royal wedding.
I thought we were speaking truth.
The last time I was in the capital was many years ago.
Apparently, Oberyn's shoes were tough ones to fill, as the creators were looking for someone filled to the brim with swagger and charisma, but someone who the audience could believe was a killer. He said that Pascal figured out who the character really was, and that he portrayed him as scouring off all falsehood. After exiting Game of Thrones in a horrific death, Pascal's career has seen nothing but growth. Well, though Oberyn Martell may be one of his most iconic roles, the actor isn't really the biggest fan of Game of Thrones. Join the club, Daddy Pascal, cause the way the creators did us, the storyline and the actors are dirty. We aren't sending them fan mail anytime soon. So the 47-year-old is currently basking in the appreciation that The Last of Us earned him. And why shouldn't he? Despite the storyline being brilliant, he and Bella Ramsey really made the show what it is. Same with Game of Thrones. The fans loved the casting in his work. A fan on Reddit said his arc was one of the few things completely unspoiled for me when I started season 4, and I fell in love with him in his first episode. And we agree, but why doesn't the actor like one of the most popular shows ever? The revelation came about as he sat down with Vanity Fair for a lie detector test. As he reminisced about his time in Westeros, the interviewer had a sneaky question for him. They asked him if he ever found the show a bit of an eyesore, and agreed. Jaws dropped, but it gets harsher. The Mandalorian actor said, "I found it to be a double eyesore." And guess what? The lie detector didn't deem his response a lie. Things got interesting as the interviewer asked if he still stood by his statement on calling the show's finale perfect. To which he replied, "How dare you?" Upon prompting by the interviewer, he requested for the statement to be taken as his answer.
You had just been born. Our father brought me and my sister Elia with him on a visit to Casterly Rock. My first time away from Dorne. I didn't like anything about the rock. Not the food, not the weather, not your accents, nothing.
Okay, so it wasn't a definitive yes or a no. In the end, the test host called his answer inconclusive. So does Pascal think the show's ending wasn't perfect? We have to give him the benefit of the doubt, though. Throughout the entire interview, he seems to joke. Every answer he gave, he had a sly smile on his face, so we take everything with a grain of salt. That said, I can't help but believe that he certainly does not stand by his statement. I mean, who in their right mind would? It was only days after the finale had aired that Macy Williams talked smack about it. Let's not forget Emilia Clarke's coy and slightly embarrassed response when an interviewer on a red carpet asked her how she felt about the season's ending. Thanks to her loyal right hand, Missandei, for stepping into the awkward moment and taking the heat off our girl. Honestly, the way the show has aged, it truly takes the cake in the history of failed TV shows. So much potential was lost, but we're glad the cast members saw how the storyline deteriorated over the years and didn't simply gaslight the audience. audience. We can't say that Pascal hated the show because his character died a brutal death. That's because he's gone on record multiple times to say that his experience on set was brilliant, and his character died a brilliant death from the story's perspective. Well, this was back when things were going well with the show. After it ended, we aren't surprised if stars are getting vocal about their hate for the show. Of course, the audience didn't hold back on their criticism either. Some even said that the creators ruined it. Why'd they say that though? Honestly, it was the uber high expectations that everyone had. Leading up to season 7, everyone was counting on brilliant script writing and amazing character development. Since the beginning of the final 2 seasons, the show felt extremely rushed. We, as the audience, could clearly see where George R.R. Martin's writing stopped and the creators stepped in. Though everybody knew it couldn't have delivered on all fronts, nobody could have expected the ending to fail as it did. Twitter exploded with confusion and rage, and though it was only 4 years ago that one of the most high-budgeted shows ended, all anyone can remember is the epic failure that season 8 was, if they even mentioned it in discussions. I mean, it was so terrible that people lodged formal petitions to rewrite the ending. It was revealed last year that George R.R. Martin, the author of the books the show's based on, wants 10 or more seasons to the show. He simply believed that anything less couldn't do the story justice. The main culprits for the fall of what could have been an epic show to the end can be David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. The two wanted to wrap the show as quickly as possible to move on to the next thing. If you've seen the viral clip from when the cast reads the show's final script, gauging from their reactions, they were just as horrified as us. Not to mention the many moments where the stars have been confronted and they haven't had good things to say about it. Change.org had a running petition filed by a fan that asks to remake the last season with competent writers. The petition has a whopping 1.8 friggin' million signatures as of now. The haphazardness that the writers introduced in the final 2 seasons was in complete contrast to the buildup of the initial seasons. To see their fave queen Dany do all that she stood against was the final blow. And where the F was karmic justice for Cersei? So many good characters took the L and so many villains got off easy. Not to mention the entire thing just seemed half. The Mother of Dragons surely harbored inner darkness. How Dany simply flipped a switch from protagonist to antagonist in the final episode is still one of the many secrets of the universe we still sometimes wonder over. Like, where did the decision to burn innocent people come from? Dany's character inconsistencies were just one of the many things wrong with the season. And sadly, the petition to rewrite the season finale hasn't really been fruitless. So all lies with Mr. George R.R. Martin, who could not seem to satiate fans with another book. On that note, we'll take our leave. Do you think Pedro Pascal actually hates Game of Thrones, or was he actually being serious about it being perfect?